Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Look. Watch this. Watch this.
Get busy on them.
Come
Kick it. Kick it. Please.
Like to hear more?
Watch this.
All right. So, we are officially doing a at a glance review on the Rane 70 MK2 and the Rane 12 MK2. Now, I'm going to go through and from my left to right, pointers, pros and cons. It's not a whole lot of cons. Just let you know right off the back, this is general, awesome system. Very, very well designed. Could they improve? Absolutely. And we're going to try to point out a couple of few pointers in that process. Okay, starting with my left side. Compared to version 1, the changes where you have your control, you can set your BPM control from whether you're going DVR to external, internal or external. I love to run internal because these are, in general, perfect systems. Now, I'm going to give you a little backstory. Why they were perfect for me. And what other DJs that come from my type of background, why they would definitely be perfect for you. Now, they can be perfect beyond just my capacity. However, I'm going to give you that little backstory to kind of shine. So I come from an original era of the Technique 1200s. Back when I had vinyl that could fill a room. So I missed that for a long time. But I was like, you know what? I got to carry more crates than equipment. And, depending on the gig, because I love options. I love to have options. So, it's nothing like, oh, you bring only a certain amount of music to play and then you need it more because somebody want to pay to extend the party. So, you never want to come up short when it comes to things like that. But the labor was off the chain. So, again, I came from that type of DMC era. Loved the 1200s. The 1200s was pretty much everything. And the 1200s themselves was fine, but it was like, if they could have did something to become like digital. You know what I'm saying? Just like digital, all digital. Anyway, I gave them up. I had a couple of close friends. I sold my 1200s, and I began the other DJ journey of probably the most horrible era in DJ history, which was CDs, like a CD player. You couldn't really scratch on them, so you lost the ability to scratch without the vinyl, and it was like And for anybody that knows, that got a backstory with that, if you weren't on the vinyl, you wasn't scratching for a long time in DJ years. It's like dog years, a long time in DJ years. So it was like, I had to give up my passion and my ability. I had to do other type of mixing that was allowed with CD players, which I absolutely hated. You worked with what you had, and you became an ordinary DJ. And I was confined to being Clark Kent at that point, and I couldn't pull out the Superman. Anyway, that's kind of the backstory. So I went on that little journey. After the CD era, we started to edge in to what was the digital era. And on that digital era, they kind of slightly brought back the scratch. And it wasn't perfect for a while. Y'all know the history of Serato. I think it had Serato scratch. I was borderline. I had came in on Serato borderline when they started getting good, right when they got good. Like right around the same year that they actually got good, and they actually crossed over, and it was just Serato at that point, and it was no longer Serato scratch. So that's that history. Then we fast forward to the digital ages. I ran Denon Systems up to Pioneer. Pioneer ended up being the era prior to the Rane. Now, they were out, but I had left the other platforms, that the Rane had. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I didn't come back to Rane until this, because when I look back at the Rane history in between there, this is the only one that I definitely loved. So, with that being said, that brings me back up. We were at the digital age, and everything was digital. Rane included their digital age. They came out with their Rane, the first Rane, the MKII, which I did not get at that time because I was like, anything new? I skipped the point in history with the CD era. I just want to take y'all back there before. I thought my hype was going to be fulfilled by Technique. When they came out with a CD player, I thought they was going to have like a scratch capability. That thing was not good. We'll do a separate review on that one later. But that was not good at all. So fast forwarding back, I was running like some Pioneers. I think I was on a DDJ SX3, which anybody knows. We're going to have to do a review on that one too. And that review is not going to be good. That one is not going to be good because that should have been a callback. They should have recalled that for all those people that went through all of those people who didn't buy extended warranties, which I did. And guess how I was able to put the money on this? Because of my extended warranty. So basically, I kind of got my monies back because of their failure, Pioneer's failure on that particular model. Some other Pioneer stuff was awesome. The one I had before the 3, I played around with the 2. The 2 was fine, but the DDJ SX3, they should have recalled that. They was trying to hold back from recalling that so bad because they probably didn't want to return everybody's money. People would have probably bought another Pioneer at the time if that was the case. However, at that point I was like, you know what? I'm stuck on a Rane. I'm going for that Rane. And they had just came out a year before I got this one. It was within a year from the time that I got this one, it had been out already. The Rane Mark II had been out. 70 Mark II and 12 Mark II. Had been out. So I was like, I wanted to go somewhere. I went to one of the music stores to test it. And lo and behold, I sat in front of a system that maybe the customers just horribly messed up. Like, I don't know who they had coming in there testing that system, but it almost had me skeptical of, you know what, I don't know if I should get this if it sounds like this. But it was basically somebody had horribly, like, just obviously they had everybody and their mother, and I think somebody mother literally messed that turntable and the mixer up there. It was like, it just wasn't working. Like, they broke that thing in the music store. So with that being said, I had to test it first round, first buy. So I had to test it right after I bought it. I didn't get to touch it because we were in the COVID era at that point, and people didn't have a lot of stuff on display. The music stores was kind of like shut down. A lot of people wasn't buying equipment for a while, etc. So now to the Rane. Why? Going back to why it was for me. Because again, I came from the era where I needed the turntables, and I wanted my turntables back, but I didn't want my vinyl back. You know, I didn't want those crates, the hassle of those heavy crates, sweating crates, scratching real good records that you need backup copies of because of track masters and everything else. This era was definitely waiting for me. It was definitely waiting for me. And I'm glad. So now we're going to cover, we're just talking about it at a glance right now. We're going to do another review, a full review, where we're going to get in absolute detail, every little nook and cranny. But right now we're just going to cover it surface, pros and cons. Again, that individual like myself, that's who this Rane is definitely for. Now, if you are still that DJ that still owns vinyl, maybe just the 70 MK2 is for you, with maybe some pioneers on the side to handle your turntable and digital capabilities, so where you can have both capabilities, because that was the only thing. I actually, and I thought Rane was actually that. I thought you could actually play vinyl on the Rane, which was like, oh man, you know, not that I needed to, because I done sold all my vinyl, but you know, we're in an age where literally you can make vinyl easier than you used to could back then. You know, you had to depend on the record labels to send you extra copies. Luckily, I worked at a record label, WPGC, and I basically distributed the music to the DJs, including myself. So, you know, working under the music director. So, with that being said, that's why this was for me. It brought me back to everything except carrying my vinyl. Now my crate is this laptop, or any laptop I want to pick, with my music selection on there, thousands of thousands in that process. So let's cover some of the awesomeness, pros and cons. All right, I'm go over to the MK12s, the 12 MK2s. So one pro con, you got 4 decks on each of them. However, all of those 4 decks are not accessible to these particularly 2 decks right here. So it's going to automatically assign the 1 deck and the 2 deck. And you can do that in any combination. However, if I want to go 3, I can't choose a 3 deck and put a different song on it and play 4 different decks simultaneously. Rane, con, please update that firmware. Make that capability. That way you can, what you can do is, I'm about to have to send this one back, and I'm gonna give you a little history on that. Why? Shy after I bought it, this one, and I'll just say that back story now, because it's revolving around what they can do, what the decks can do. So when I got this one, let's just see, put a track on that. So when I got when I got all of these, everything was brand new. Everything was beautiful. Sounded good. Still sounds good. Now, I'm going to tell you the difference why I had to put an RMA to send this one back. I'm waiting for the extra box because I got my original box, but I don't have the original outer box, which you got to include that in any RMAs with Rane. Or they'll say, no, it's not our fault, whatever it is, you know. So you make sure you want to do that. They put you through that. You could be a little bit more sensitive, Rane. You know, I mean, you could. I'm just saying, that's all. All right, so with that being said, what's the situation with this? So if you will see, if I'm going to play a track and say I'm a back run, let me play it for a little bit so I have something in the background too. All right, 1, 2, 3. All right, so right here. So if I'm see how much that doesn't spin? It barely goes a quarter to 60% back. Quarter to 60% back. What it's supposed to do like that. That's what it's supposed to do. So you see the difference between the flow, and I'm gonna show you something in a second. Even forward. You see that? So that's what I had a long conversation with Rane about, and that's where the RMA was created to basically do that. So what's going on, what you might not see, is I'm able to turn this right here, and it will turn the platter just by me turning right there. This is supposed to be a little bit more loose. Now, if you see, on this side, the platter is barely turning because it's as loose as it needs to be. And the platter barely turns at all because it's smooth as it needs to be, like butter. Obviously, I'm running some butter rugs under both of them. So it's not the problem of the slip mats, because these are pro DJ butter rugs under here. And this is the same thing with the original Rane vinyl. As you see, obviously, I love the fact that, you know, Rane allows you to use your own type of vinyl. Shout outs to one of our sponsors, Boricua Vegan. Check them out, youtube.com, boricualevegan.com. The best in vegan cuisine from Latin America and Asia. So it's a little plug for our sponsors who make this review possible. Okay. That being said, that's the situation. So I got to send this one in. So I'm going to miss him for at minimum 2 weeks, depending on this. It'll probably be a quick fix, whatever they got to do to loosen that up or replace that device or whatever they need to do. However, that was the only problem from the beginning. I had it right off the start. I'm just now having to send it back. We got these around February of 22. So we're at the end right now. We're closing out in December due to events and a number of other things. Because you can still play and you can still do what you need to do, but you don't have your full function, especially when you're a DJ that utilizes every inch and every ability within the turntables. So that's the situation. So when I return them, I'm going to be able to use one of them as a 2 deck. Now, when you have both of them connected, you can't dub that process. Like, I can't use 4 decks altogether. I can't use this as 1 and 3 and this is 2 and 4, you know, if I wanted to. So, Rane, why can't I have that little feature? Why firmware? Is it firmware? Hook us up. Hook a brother up. All right. So with that being said, that's the 1 point from the turntables. Now, the current turntables versus the Mark Ones. I'm so glad, like I was saying before, I'm so glad that I did not get them. And I don't never usually, unless I'm sponsored, I never usually go to first round until I see how everybody else was affected, pros and all, with how it was. And I'm glad I didn't because, number one, I like the change between the Mark 1s and the Mark 2s of everything, the turntables and the mixer. The mixer is grand. Matter of fact, the mixer, if anything, is what encouraged me to be like, it's time to buy. Aside from me getting rid of that DDJ SX3, which should have been recalled, but mine was recalled anyway, so I got my money back because I had insurance on it. But with that being said, this was that's the scenario with the turntables. It would be nice to have all 4 decks at any usage that you want to use it on. Boom. All right. Other than that, the turntables by themselves, I mean, it's self-explanatory. It's not too many features on them, that's outstanding, and they're fine like they are. The biggest part of this system goes back to how these function and what this can do within the overall system. So we'll start covering. Oh, one more thing I will comment on concerning the turntables is the limit of one special button that I don't know why, especially in the Mark II, I don't know why they didn't think of literally releasing a button for that versus the instant dub. You can do an instant dub with the scroll button. However, I'm not able to properly assign the censor button. There should be a censor button on here. There's way more than enough room without infringing on the area where the censor button should have been separate and dedicated to censoring. Like, say, for instance, I never used the back button. So the back button would have been a perfect button. But guess what? I'm unable to MIDI assign the back button, unless y'all want to firmware that. And then I can use the back button as a censor button. But I'm unable to assign the censor button to the back button. You can assign it to, I think, instant dubs. But then I use instant dubs, depending on what I need to do and where I need to control from within that. So that we covered the turntables. Again, like I said, this review is going to be at a glance, so it's not going to be as long as the full review when I do the full review, all the details in there. But I'm going to give a surface of everything and where I'm coming from. So next, this mixer. Fader is awesome. There's absolutely no cons on the fader. Just keep it from being dusty, and a good thing, a can of air, keeping it from being dusty. That's all you need. And you're good to go with that. Now, other than the faders, all the button functionality, the screen, love it. It's perfect. I guess we will cover, let's see what we'll cover first. Mic capability. Love the mic. On the mic right now. As some of you may see, I run studio mics on the Rane system, which means I have to run a Phantom. Now, I only want to run one studio mic. The other mic, I use a wireless, just in case I got, obviously, a client that needs to make some separate announcements or they want to do something, within the arena, and I can run multi setups from my MKII system to that. Now, love the fact that the mic has the feature, the mic 1. I wish it was both mics, but I love the fact that mic 1 can work as a duck. And if I'm recording a session or a set, you won't get none of my vocals in there. So it'll be straight instrumentals and whatever my typical calling card.
This is the hottest radio station.
Escuchando DJ BYP.
So
Dipper.
that's pretty much that. And wish it was both mics that worked as the duck. But again, that's kind of if I had something to do with that code. Sometimes the the DJs that are out there, the mega superstars, sometimes they don't think about the simple little things because they just like, just the big stuff, just the big stuff. Y'all, Rane, y'all need a couple of representatives that's just on the average level that do what they do and that shine like they shine to give you that extra detail, those little points, little key points. That's just one thing. All the functionality of how everything is set up is really smooth and real nice. I love that. I love the fact that I have the capability of going out 3 different ways. Obviously, I can go out on my main out, which is connected right now, which you guys are hearing the gist of everything on. And I can go from my booth out as a booth, which I don't use it as a booth unless I'm in a certain place where it might be required. However, what I do use the booth out as a manual recorder, when I want to do a manual record instead of the digital record through like a Serato. So that's one thing. I can also do another manual record or a studio record out of the session out. So that's a good thing for that. So those are all pros. Another feature that we want to get into, pros and cons. Let's talk about 2 of my favorite items, like we just said. Obviously,
1, 2, 3, 4.
You're listening to
you got your samples,
DJ BYP Dipper.
Did he freeze?
and the samples are gold.
Antelope in headlights.
Having
you finished?
8 samples per channel times 4, you good to go. That's pretty much solid with the samples. Now, however, that changes when you want to go to your scratches. When you want to go to your scratches, you want a little bit more than that. Any DJ knows. Now, I mean, we could play around per song. A lot of songs, depending on what the song is, may have scratch cues within the song, but there's a lot of music that doesn't necessarily have scratch cues within the song, which means that I want to have some options, some extra options on my bank. If y'all could double what we have in the scratch bank, you got the same thing as the samples. You got an 8 bank times 4. However, within an hour, 30 minutes sometimes, if you're mixing, even if you're going every other song, if you're mixing, what's going to happen is you're going to end up running often the same scratches in some of the different songs that you're going to play through. So your options are going to start sounding limited unless you literally like transfer out and manually load other scratches that you already have saved for those banks. So it would be an awesome feature if we could use a shift and you could split the scratches in half and have 16 times 4 instead of 8 times 4. That would improve the capability of being able to run through a number of things within a couple of hours without overlapping your different scratches. So that's a pro con. It's good and decent where it's at, but you can never have enough scratches. So it's almost like, it's almost like the scratches being a sample. You want more scratches than you do samples. The samples are fine because, you're only going to use but so many samples. You're going to use your shout outs, a couple of horns, and your reggae snaps, a siren or 2, and other than that, other than having like maybe 4 to 5 multiple shout outs, radio hits, radio ads, maybe an ad for one of your other DJ partners, etc. You're good on the samples, but the scratches, double. If you could double that, Rane, that would be awesome. Now, that being said, other than that, what did we not cover from the glance? I love, let's cover the effects. That's the next major point. Pro, con. Pro, the effects sounds, particularly the flex effects, awesome sounding. Serato effects, they're okay. The way I use them is fine because I combine them to get a more fuller sound. Now, with that being said, I'm not in the effect bank other than doing a couple of cuts. I am definitely not in the effect bank that often. And it's due to, I wish I had the control of all of those effects on things like the mic. Now, if that was the case, I would alter my mic maybe a whole lot more than I'm altering the music. For an example, I may have everything set up where you playing. And other than a little bit of that here and there between the mixes and other effects running out, that's about the gist of it. Now, the sound is good, absolutely. However, I wish those effects could be channeled in, say, for instance, within my mics. You only have echo in the mic, and you barely want to use that echo. I'd rather use a reverb than an echo. So to get a fuller sound, such as a mixer, it'll be awesome if I could control, so have more control over those effects. With some of the perimeters that already exist, obviously being able to control the amount of the volume. For example, you hear the echo. Well, that could be reverb. That could be a reverb or a cut for the mic, or one of the other effects. Which the effects, like I say, they sound awesome, but the usage is like, how many combinations as a DJ are you gonna use for minus, like, you know, certain DJs do more than others. Like if you're techno or something like that, but they, you know, the people that are in like house and EDM, most of them they're not just like battle DJ style. They're running like several other components to get the type of effects that they need for, you know, some of the music that you do. If you could see, or some of the YouTube videos and the live concerts, etc. So with that being said, that would be another improvement. Other than that, the system, love it. Love the Rane, definitely. It's a must-have. Again, like I say, it's definitely created for the DJ like myself who wanted to come back to the control capability of DMC DJing, full DJ wheel control, etc., without having to worry about skipping and everything else, whether you're light-handed or heavy-handed, going through those phases, and it's an awesome piece. Now, that being said, again, that's me. It's who this was made for sure. My crates are now existing on the laptop, and I'm good to go. I don't mind that this is a slightly little big boy. I wanted to give a shout out to my Odyssey case, which, by the way, was on back order for about a year. Hey, y'all better grab them right now if you can. I kind of don't want to tell y'all one of my secret spots that have them because the back order was crazy, and I'm sure if somebody found out, I didn't check lately, but I'm sure somebody found out they already gone. It was a couple of them, I think they had about 8 of them in stock, and I'm sure they advertised it. But boom, I will, however, give a shout out to Sweetwater. Because they do a lot of good work, and I appreciate you, Sweetwater, for the looking out. So, with that being said, that's at a glance. This is an awesome piece of equipment. Not too many cons, more pros than anything. However, some of those light things to look at, Rane, you know, as far as the improvement way before you go to a whole nother system. Which obviously you can make a whole lot of those changes, but I think quite a bit of those changes can be made within this system through firmware. You can confirm to me, let me know whether or not some of the things that were mentioned. That being said, I love this baby boy. I'm going to be missing him for a second because I got to send him in for my RMA, have them check that out, see if they can fix that. Other than that, this is nice piece of equipment, and I am definitely pleased. And that's all we got for today. And until then, you can check out some of the mixes. Don't forget, you can check me out, DJ underscore BYP Dipper, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. So thank you, and we out.